Imagine the moment you close your eyes, tonight, knowing you won't open them until 8 full hours have passed. The room is dark, the world outside continues, and you surrender to a state most people have culturally abandoned. Sleep has been reframed as weakness, as time stolen from productivity, as something successful people sacrifice. But what if that belief misses something fundamental about how consciousness itself is maintained? What if your brain possesses a nightly maintenance system that modern life has prevented from completing its work? The human brain wasn't designed for constant wakefulness, punctuated by brief, insufficient rest. It was designed for cycles, for deep surrender into a state where the conscious mind releases control and allows something more ancient to take over. What if, hidden within the hours you spend unconscious, lies a biological process so critical that without it, everything you consider yourself begins to deteriorate? When you commit to 8 hours of sleep every night, you're not just resting. You're allowing your brain to perform work it cannot do while you're awake. So what actually happens when your neurons finally receive the time they need to recover? What hidden transformations begin the moment you descend into true, uninterrupted sleep? The answers are both humbling and profound, and they start the first night. The first 90 minutes feel like falling. Your brain waves shift from the rapid beta rhythms of waking thought to the rolling alpha waves of relaxation, then deeper still, into theta, and finally into delta. These are slow waves, powerful and synchronized, rippling across your cortex like tides. This is slow wave sleep, the deepest stage, and it's where the most critical work begins. Your neurons have been firing constantly all day, responding to every thought, every sensation, every decision. Now they rest. Synaptic activity decreases dramatically. The electrical storm that defines consciousness quiets to a steady, rhythmic pulse. This isn't shutdown. This is active recovery at the cellular level. Growth hormone floods your bloodstream, released in pulses during this deep sleep. Your body prioritizes repair, but so does your brain. Cellular damage accumulated during waking hours begins to reverse. The wear of consciousness itself is being addressed. If you've been chronically sleep-deprived, your body may resist this depth at first. You might wake after an hour, disoriented, your system unused to such profound rest. This restlessness isn't failure. This is your brain remembering what true sleep feels like, recalibrating to a state it hasn't experienced in months, or perhaps years. The unfamiliarity will pass. The work has already begun. By the second and third nights, something remarkable intensifies. If you've been running a sleep deficit, your brain enters what researchers call REM rebound. Rapid eye movement sleep, the stage where dreams occur, has been starved. Now it surges back with force. Your eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids. Your muscles enter temporary paralysis, a protection against acting out dreams. But your brain becomes electrically alive, firing in patterns that rival waking consciousness. This is not rest in any traditional sense. This is processing. Your hippocampus, deep in your temporal lobe, replays the day's experiences. It projects these neural patterns to your cortex, transferring memories from temporary storage to permanent archives. Events that seemed trivial gain context. Skills you practiced begin to consolidate. The hippocampus is deciding what to keep and where to file it. Simultaneously, your amygdala processes emotions. Experiences that carried fear, anger, or anxiety are re-examined without the overwhelming charge. REM sleep strips away excessive emotion, while preserving the memory itself. You're learning from difficulty without being consumed by it. Dreams become vivid, sometimes overwhelming. You might wake remembering narratives more clearly than you have in years. This intensity isn't random. This is your brain catching up on backlogged processing, working through months of experiences that never received proper attention. The dreams will stabilize. The work continues. By the end of the first week, something subtle but measurable occurs deep behind your eyes. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of 20,000 neurons in your hypothalamus, governs your circadian rhythm. This is your master clock, and for however long you've been sleeping irregularly, it's been receiving conflicting information about when to be awake and when to rest. Consistent 8-hour sleep resets this clock. Melatonin, the hormone that induces sleepiness, begins releasing predictably as darkness falls. Cortisol, which promotes alertness, rises appropriately in the morning, rather than spiking erratically throughout the day. The rhythm finds its natural pattern. Adenosine, a molecule that builds in your brain during waking hours, creating sleep pressure, finally clears completely during your 8 hours of rest. This is why you've been waking with that drugged, heavy feeling. The adenosine never fully cleared. Now it does. You wake without grogginess because the system has reset to baseline. Your body temperature drops at night and rises in the morning on schedule. Your digestive system knows when to expect food. Every physiological process that operates on a 24-hour cycle begins to synchronize. This rhythm isn't arbitrary. It's encoded in your DNA, refined over millions of years of evolution. Your brain is remembering what it always knew. During the second week, while you sleep, your brain does something that seems counterintuitive. It eliminates connections. Throughout each day, you form thousands of new synaptic connections through every experience, every thought, every piece of information you encounter. If all of these connections persisted, your neural networks would become cluttered, inefficient, overwhelmed by noise. Deep sleep triggers a process called synaptic homeostasis. Your brain identifies which connections matter and which don't. Weak synapses, the ones formed from trivial or unrepeated experiences, are pruned away. Strong synapses, the ones that represent important learning or repeated patterns, are strengthened and stabilized. It's editing, not just storing. Your brain is sculpting itself, removing excess to reveal the essential structure beneath. This happens every night, but only if you sleep long enough for the full cycle to complete. Most people interrupt this process, waking before the work finishes. By week 2 of consistent sleep, this nightly editing has cleared significant clutter. Focus sharpens because the neural pathways conducting your thoughts are cleaner, more direct. Learning retention improves because the important connections have been reinforced while interference has been removed. Your thoughts feel less scattered. This isn't motivation or willpower. This is structural optimization occurring while you're unconscious. Around week 3, the most remarkable discovery in sleep neuroscience reveals itself in your brain. For decades, scientists believed the brain had no lymphatic system, no mechanism for clearing metabolic waste the way the rest of your body does. Then, researchers discovered the glymphatic system, and everything changed. During deep sleep, your brain cells physically shrink, reducing their volume by up to 60%. This creates space between cells, opening channels. Cerebrospinal fluid, which surrounds your brain and spinal cord, floods through these expanded spaces like a tide rushing through opened gates. This fluid carries away metabolic waste that accumulated during waking hours. Proteins, cellular debris, and critically, beta-amyloid and tau proteins, the substances that form the plaques and tangles associated with Alzheimer's disease. Your brain is washing itself from the inside. This process happens exclusively during deep sleep. When you cut sleep short, this cleansing cycle doesn't complete. Waste accumulates. Over years, this accumulation correlates with cognitive decline, with neurodegeneration, with diseases that we've treated as inevitable. By week 3 of proper sleep, this nightly detoxification has been operating fully. The backlog is clearing. Years of insufficient cleaning are being addressed. Every morning, your brain is slightly cleaner than the night before. This isn't metaphor. This is cerebrospinal fluid physically flushing toxins from neural tissue. Your brain is finally cleaning itself the way it was designed to. The 4th week brings changes you can feel in your emotional landscape. Your amygdala, an almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, detects threats and triggers emotional responses. Sleep deprivation makes this system hyperactive. Studies document that after just one sleepless night, amygdala reactivity increases by 60%. Small stressors feel catastrophic. Minor frustrations trigger disproportionate anger or anxiety. Simultaneously, sleep loss weakens the connection between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational thought and emotional regulation. Your prefrontal cortex normally inhibits amygdala overreaction, providing perspective and control. Without sleep, this inhibitory signal weakens. You become emotionally volatile, reactive, unable to contextualize your feelings. 4 weeks of consistent sleep reverses this degradation. The prefrontal cortex strengthens its regulatory control. The amygdala's baseline reactivity decreases. You respond to stress with proportion rather than panic. REM sleep specifically processes emotional memories. During these stages, your brain reactivates the neural patterns associated with difficult experiences, but it does so in an environment with reduced noradrenaline, a stress hormone. This allows you to process the memory without the overwhelming emotional flooding. The factual content remains, but the excessive negative charge dissipates. This is why problems that felt insurmountable at night seem manageable in the morning. Your brain processed them during sleep. You've gained perspective not through effort, but through allowing the natural emotional regulation system to complete its work. By day 28, memory itself has transformed. Memory formation happens in distinct stages. Initial encoding occurs during waking experience when you first encounter information. But consolidation, the process that transfers memories from temporary to permanent storage, requires sleep. During slow-wave sleep, your hippocampus replays neural patterns from the day. It projects these patterns to your cortex in a process called systems consolidation. The replay happens at accelerated speeds, sometimes 20 times faster than the original experience. Your brain is reviewing, integrating, connecting new information with existing knowledge. Skills practiced during the day improve overnight without additional practice. Musicians sleep and wake with better technique. Athletes sleep and wake with improved motor patterns. Students sleep and wake with better retention. This phenomenon, called offline learning, demonstrates that your brain actively masters material while you're unconscious. With 4 weeks of consistent sleep cycles, this consolidation process has completed nightly without interruption. You're retaining information more easily, not because you're trying harder, but because the biological system responsible for creating permanent memories is finally functioning properly. Learning feels effortless because the neural machinery supporting it has been maintained. Your brain isn't just storing memories, it's actively integrating them into the architecture of who you are. At 30 days, if you could measure your cognitive performance against baseline, you would witness improvements across every domain. Reaction time has quickened by 15 to 20%. Working memory capacity, the ability to hold and manipulate information, has expanded measurably. Attention span has lengthened. You can focus on complex tasks for extended periods without the mental fatigue that used to arrive within minutes. Problem-solving accuracy has increased. Tasks that required significant effort now feel intuitive. This isn't because the tasks changed. This is your brain operating with the resources it was designed to have. Neurotransmitter systems have stabilized. Serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all the chemical messengers that govern mood, motivation, and cognition, are synthesizing and regulating properly because sleep governs their production. The brain fog that once characterized your mornings has vanished completely. You wake with clarity, with energy that doesn't require caffeine to activate. The afternoon mental collapse that used to derail productivity no longer appears. Your energy remains steady because your brain's glucose metabolism has normalized. Studies document cognitive improvements of 20 to 30% across standardized tests after sustained sleep recovery. These aren't marginal gains. These are fundamental shifts in how efficiently your neural networks operate. This is what rested consciousness feels like, not enhanced or augmented, but simply allowed to function as biology intended. The benefits of sleep aren't permanent without continued commitment. Miss a few nights and the gains begin eroding. The glymphatic system stalls, waste accumulates. Synaptic pruning becomes haphazard. Connections you've refined start to blur. Emotional regulation weakens as the amygdala regains dominance over the prefrontal cortex. But you've proven something profound over these 30 days. You've demonstrated that your brain responds to rest, that cognitive decline isn't inevitable, that consciousness itself becomes sharper when given the maintenance it requires. Sleep isn't time stolen from productivity. It's the foundation upon which all productivity, all thought, all emotional stability rests. Every idea you generate, every memory you form, every emotion you regulate, every decision you make, all of it depends on the work your brain does while you're unconscious. The cleaning, the consolidation, the pruning, the emotional processing. These aren't luxuries. These are biological necessities. The question now is protection. Protecting these 8 hours against the demands that will try to claim them. The emails, the deadlines, the cultural narrative that equates sleep with weakness. Your brain will forgive occasional disruption, but it thrives on consistency, on the predictable rhythm that allows biological systems to operate as designed. What you've built over 30 days isn't just better sleep. It's a different relationship with consciousness itself, one that honors the ancient rhythm encoded in your biology, one that recognizes rest not as absence, but as sacred work.